do it. That's just what goes on. And even to the point of the Dracos, this is the most interesting part I think about, and what's important to us as beings, not human beings, because if you're saying human beings, you're speaking of God, or that's God speaking through your body. So whenever you feel proud about saying you're human, that's not us. And God will let you know as soon as you realize that that's Him, that that's not you. And I learned it the hard way, and it's still going on, and it don't stop. So that's just the way it is. But back to that what I was speaking about, the Dracos. Okay, so the Dracos were the ones who first created the lowest possible beings which in their realm, because the God is actually the medium of what a being is supposed to be, and that's a 6th density, high level being. The Elohims are even longer lasting or longer living because they live through the people, and the people feed them their energy, and so they're on the top. It's like the king feels good and the king lives a long life. But so the Dracos were the ones who created the Greys and the low-level reptile beings, and in doing so they created a materialized being, or more like a vessel, because a vessel could be used as a clone, a vessel could be used as artificial intelligence, and I'm sure there's other uses which we've only browsed or slightly perceived as being possible. And I'm sure in the future those things will be well known. But you have other beings like the Chimera, and a lot of us are taking on those forms these days. I'm not the only one. I'm one of them, and that's not a daily occurrence. Well, maybe it is in terms of what God does, which is take over worlds and create slaves, because that's what they did. The gods, as soon as the Dracos were done, God made himself a low being also, a low materialized being, which is actually, if you look at it from the slave point of view, which we are the slave, is that because being a slave is to be an indentured servant, and in a way we are indentured. And we weren't created pure and whole. We are created unmade and totally not to our designs of specification. The gods may say, oh, it is within their perspective of what that is to be, because it's from their point of view. So if they ever speak it, that's their point of view, and that's not ours. You have to have that pullback from, you can't just accept everything God says without ever examining it. That'd be retarded. There would be no point in ever doing that. Anybody that does that needs to have a second look at what they've been doing, because for God to say He loves you and at the same time you're a slave, that's a counter contradiction. The only reason that they even made us was to counterbalance what the Dracos were doing, and who knows if either one of them either are in a real conflict. In all sincerity, it could be that they're just balancing each other out and just trying to live through billions of years, and creating a wake of beings like us that have been lowly created. Like, if you ever take this into consideration, one of the easiest way to know is, would God switch places with us? And you'll never get that answer, because they won't. It's a plain and simple no, they won't. They'll create lower life forms. So I don't know if that's maybe they're modeling themselves after the very being that made this whole reality, which we have no clue what that is. But maybe they don't have no love loss, But at the same time, they're not the wealthiest beings to create low beings and say that we're needed for them. And the truth is, slaves have always existed. They exist on other planets. They're not free, or maybe they have been freed. And even the stuff that they call spirituality is a luminous light. It's a light formation that exists naturally in the universe. It's like that glow off of the heat of the middle of a fire. It could be the glow from the sun. That thinner layer, which is luminous. Luminous is probably the best definition, because there's actually within these universes other bands of existence, and they have other fields which are equal proportion. So you would never say that what you see with your naked eye is the total truth. Even now, I feel God's presence pushing against what I'm saying, trying to justify what they do or get their word out there, which to me is kind of bullshit, because they'll let us suffer, and they gave us the lowest possible chance to be a being. It's like, oh, you need 7 breaths of air to be alive. Well, we'll give you 1 and give you the other 6. And there's more than I've been on this trail for a while, and I'll say I probably came across at least 400 to 1,000 small examples, which all were points that lead to the fact that the gods have not given us what they should, or what we think would be adequate to start with. It's like creating a being with no lungs, and they become your lung and act as your air. That's very uncanny to say that we need a new lung. It should be the natural state as you are born with lungs. So that's just that's more than a speculation. You could prove yourself right and wrong on all these accounts when you realize that if you don't have a lung, you'll die. Yes, I'll take the lung. You get the lung, oh, well, I'm charging you $6 and you get $1, and everything I'm going to charge you costs $1.25, therefore you're indentured. And I said $1 and $1.25, but those proportions are even off. When you start adding up the reality of what you pay in the long run and what our people will pay in the long run, it's God got the better part of this deal, I'll tell you that. Okay, so let me just keep going on here. I don't want to miss anything. So let's see here. We see this name, Ashtar Command, aka Fruit Loop. He was actually one of the Brahmins, and he had a name that was synonymous here on Earth. And for the sake of me, since I'm I don't really care for this guy or this being, for the mindset that he's provided me with. And I'm not going to go into that, but you can see Fruit Loop here. Something I have to battle with all the time because jerks like Ashtar Command. And I'll just, as soon as I remember what his name is, he's totally blocking it right now because it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't remember for the life of me. But he lived here on Earth, and if you watch the movie The Watchers, you'll see the blonde guy in the movie, and that is the same thing as Ashtar Command. If you look at stuff like the 2001 incident in New York, somebody conceived that plan. There was 3 branches of the beings that came here to personally infiltrate the humans and set them up to accept that we are slaves. Slaves being indentured again, because you were not born with your spirituality. It is a glow in which we participate in, totally necessary to be a higher being, but we were born without it. So that is slave, that is clone, that is not human. Human are gods. They call themselves, you see the word human, Hua is light, that is glow, that is an old word, it's an ancient word, H-U-A. Many cultures, all the cultures used it. In fact, it was given to them by the gods. The last part, man, machinations, Hua man, that's them occupying our vessels and doing their so-called dirty work. Not to say it don't seem good at times. It will seem great until you're exposed to reality. It's like being in the Matrix and you wake up in a shithole, you know what I mean? And you realize that our people won't be free or have any chance of living forever for a long time. And basically they're stacking up our dead bodies to build a being in the future, when in reality they could have built that being now. So I have some resentment towards this whole thing, and this whole offering of immortality to our kind, to us beings, to us in the moment. So that was humans as slaves, and then here we have humans are the gods. That's God's mind. Even now they're playing us, stacking our minds together, trying to get us to come to some basic understandings of the formations they're going to allow. Because within creation there is form and there is non-form. Those are the things available to us, Even above that, there are states of being in which, beings never take form or not form because it's never known. So therefore, why do they have to take it? They start undoing that inventory and undoing the truth, and they know the source of it, so they get that done. Places we have here you could go visit, Halls of Amenti here on Earth with Thoth, the Atlanteans. It's located there under Egypt. We have the Halls of Osiris, which is another place. I think it's right before the center of the galaxy. It might be in Sirius. There's a library there. You know, a lot of beings come to these two places. You know, when you're in a quiet place and you're in actual deep thought, you'll find yourself in the halls of Amenti probably first. You know, and the more open you are, if you're already channeling or you're already aware of an alien presence and it's well known to you that they abduct you, they visit you, whatever they want to call it, it's all just inventory. That's on the halls of Osiris. And one thing I want to emphasize before we leave again is, before I leave and I turn this video off, is, you know, we are being offered a chance for freedom in the far future. All the beings now, even the new age beings and all the people that are coming about and getting interested in this topic, you're still going to end up not living forever. God doesn't exactly tell you what the end comes at death. You know, you listen in your mind and you ask silently, and you're going to get a lot of answers. And you know, God's a chicken shit. He don't want to tell you anything. They're not taking responsibility for that. God's like a very smart kid, very smart guy, very smart being, human, somewhere out there in this mindset, creating this mindset. And you know, he don't even want to take the credit by himself. You could blame all of them at once. They'll all hide, you know. In your mind will be silent. The only time it's silent is when you actually accuse them of the truth. So, you know, I'm pretty sure other people are probably going to steal this kind of stuff here that I'm talking about. But if you enjoy what I wrote, give me a like if you can find this on YouTube. And I'm going to try to make a few more videos. This isn't my most interesting topic and the thing I love to do the most. You know, if I had anything to do in my spare time, I'd probably go make money, because God likes to keep his people broke. But that's not anyone's worry. That's not anyone else's concern. You know, this stuff right here is the stuff that people are going to be interested in. And it's a hard pill to swallow, knowing that they offer immortality at some point where slaves will be free in the future. You know, somewhere like 2 million years before they could even forge a luminous being in truthfulness. So that's what I was saying again about how they kind of gave us the short end of the stick and they charged us a lot. Like, even when Thoth and them were made, because they were also made by the Avians, they were given a lot. You know, they were given many years to live. I could hear God right now explaining this shit to you. But we were given an 80-year lifespan, and we're kind of expendable. So that's why I don't really enjoy all this. You know, you have to have two sides of this coin here, and you may have to side with one or the other for periods of time. And you know, I just wish everybody luck. You know, ease in their mind, not being indulgent or too overly grateful, which ends up turning into being ingrateful to God and to all these beings. You know, the best thing you could always do is to be aware of the truth that, you know, we're not immortal yet, and just live life, whatever that is. And I'll see you soon. Peace.